Hey guys, hey, it's John from Addicted to Fishing. Today we're out here in my garage where I do a lot of my work. Been out here pouring swim baits, getting ready for new molds that are coming. Poison tail jig and a herring head underspin. We just got through powder painting some jigs. Got them getting ready to go in the oven. Kind of run down this little shop, if you will. I live in a community, and I have a garage that's pretty simple. I had to run my own electric soda today. I've got I don't know if I can turn this around. Probably not, but anyway, I've got up top just a fluorescent. an LED light. And then you can see in the background there, I ran a strip off of it. Got the ceramic outlet on it, but you can see some of the workshop area there. What we're doing, you can see the heads up inside the oven, getting ready to bake. The powder coat's getting ready to bake on. Some of the tackle. Yeah, I'm going to do more of an in-depth video on some of my tackle storage, how I'm storing tackle in the garage, how I get ready to go out on a day fishing, kind of some of the madness behind what I do. I was just talking about doing chatterbaits, and I thought it was kind of cool. Back in the, 80s, 90s, probably more of the 80s, we were pouring spinnerbaits, jigs, breaker bass jigs, skirted jigs, and we were pouring round ball head jigs for smallmouth fishing. We did a lot of smallmouth fishing up north. One of the things that I found that I thought was kind of cool was our early production of the chatterbait, and lo and behold, it's quite different than everything else that's on the market. Here's that puppy. Quite a different style blade. And you can see it was not a direct connect, but we didn't connect it with a swivel. We connected it with the snap. That bad boy actually worked pretty good from my memory. This is, I think, the only one that I have left. And I kind of keep this one as a keepsake. I'm never going to fish this bad boy. I may take it and throw it somewhere where I know I'm not going to probably catch anything, just to compare the action today instead of just what was in my memory of this chatterbait from way back in the day. But I got to thinking to myself a lot about techniques that come and go, and that's one of the techniques that came. We may not have been the first ones to have designed that and tried that, but I remember having a box full of them, and they worked. They caught a lot of big fish. I think it was something, just like everything else, it's something different. Gave a different presentation, a different approach just for the bass that they hadn't seen. The other thing that we would do, smallmouth fishing, we were finesse fishermen then. We go up to the Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence Seaway, and this is before BASS ever had a tournament on that river system. And the river has changed quite a bit since we first started going up there. I think our first trip up there was 1981, and we fished, of course, light line, light rod. I can remember many a times, thinking back on it. Back then I didn't really understand a lot of it. I was just a young boy learning the ropes of some of the more technique specific stuff instead of, hey, I got a bait caster, or hey, I got a spinner rod. But we'd go out, and out in the river, and you'd find a rock pile, and those smallmouth would be stacked up in there, and you'd be sitting out in 30 foot of water, sometimes 50 foot of water, casting up into as close to that rock as you could, and sometimes less than a foot of water. And we were throwing a 1/4 ounce at best, ball head jig with a 3-inch twister tail on the back. Have that on a medium or medium light rod, 2 to 6 pound test line. We'd catch quite a bit of smallmouth that way. And then once the pressure started becoming known about the great smallmouth fishery the St. Lawrence River is, BASS put on their first tournament, and I remember that very well. I worked that tournament. I actually was one of the guys that when the pros came in to weigh in, they'd bring up their bag of fish. They all got certified that they were, legal size, and they had them in a bag, and I would take the bag and transport them from water trough to water trough for whichever angler happened to come up that I would draw, whether it was Jimmy Houston, Joe Thomas, whoever it happened to be, Roland Martin. I met a lot of those guys, Rick Klun, just different guys that, and I don't remember the specifics on which guy was fishing the tournament that year, but it was their first ever, and I'm pretty sure it was the very first ever BASS tournament on the St. Lawrence River. Once that happened, the river changed as far as people out there fishing for bass. When we first started going up there, I don't think many people even fished for smallmouth or largemouth. I think it was muskie, pike, perch. I think that was primarily it. Maybe some walleye fishermen. I think the majority of the guys that we've seen, and I remember, it was all about muskie. It's a great muskie fishery. And as crazy as it is, I think between 20 and 25 years of going up there, I don't ever recall catching a muskie. But anyway, let's kind of get back to the little story that I got going on that river system and talking about kind of pioneering different bait systems. Once the BASS put that tournament on and people found out that the St. Lawrence River was a great smallmouth fishery, and it got a little more pressured, we tried to find different techniques to keep us on these quality smallmouth. A quality smallmouth, I'm talking, 5-6 pounders. One of the things I remember we did, today it's known as a drop shot. For us back then, what we were doing, and we did it two different ways. One way was with the ball head jig. We went to a smaller weight, 1/32 ounce, I believe, still with the same size 3-4 inch twister tail on the back. It's before most of the paddle tail swim baits and that stuff were well known out here on the East Coast. But we'd put that lighter ball head jig on, and then we would have another, just like the drop shot. We'd have that extended line down below it, and sometimes we'd make that 18 inches, sometimes we'd make it 12 inches. If the fish were tighter to the bottom, we'd only bring it up 6 inches off of it. But at the bottom, we'd put one of these little sinkers on, little bank sinker type things, whatever we had available. Didn't matter. Most of them were just some sort of like a bell type sinker. Let me see if I've even got some of that old stuff right here. I could kind of show you what we were using. I apologize for not being able to turn the camera around, but once I get this bad boy up and running, it don't let me. Yeah, here we go. These were the puppies that we were tying on the bottom. A lot of you guys see those. Sometimes we'd run out of those, and we had a guy that poured these. These are quite bigger. This is kind of my river tackle box. But we'd go to those. And if you're out on a boat, and the St. Lawrence River is rocky, that's what makes it a tremendous smallmouth fishery. If you were out there and that's what they were, that's what you could catch them on. Sometimes you'd run out of that sinker. And I remember one day we were on a school and had them fired up, and we ran out of those. We only had a few of those sinkers in a boat, and the guy actually that poured those for us. He was going to pour some that night because, for whatever reason we just didn't prepare properly for our trip up there. I remember putting some split shots on the bottom just to kind of give it that weight and put it down on the bottom. It's not quite the same as the drop shot today, but it was nothing more than a drop shot, just like that chatterbait, man. That was the chatterbait, I remember some of our original underspins that we were making, and there was a lot of those different things. There were spinnerbaits that we were building that were completely different. Different types of blades. I don't even know if I still have some of the original old school spinnerbaits that we were making that had some of the crazy blade designs. I don't ever see them anymore at all. I don't think I have anything here, but this is one of our own spinnerbaits. This was more of a finesse style spinnerbait. But one of the things that the blades that we found back then was let me get that blade. I don't care if it's one of our spinnerbaits or somebody else's spinnerbait. Let me get this blade. Okay. So typically you have a regular willow leaf that's like this bad boy. Well, what we had found is a willow leaf that was split. It was cut down, split right down here, and it had 2 points on opposite sides. Man, that was something else that the smallies hadn't seen up there. Now, mind you, we went up there early in the season. The state of New York, at least the St. Lawrence River has a season for smallmouth. I believe it's the third weekend of June when it starts, and then goes through October, something like that. It's a very small window. And depending on how bad the winter was, how bad that river froze over, depending on what stage of the spawn we were finding the smallmouth in. And sometimes, we didn't plan our trip around the spawn. We planned our trip around opening day. It was always about opening day. It wasn't about trying to catch the bass on the spawn. We just sometimes would get lucky. But we'd go up there, and we could, if the smallmouth were in, late pre-spawn, meaning, it's any day now, they're going to be ready to spawn, to early post-spawn. We'd go up in some of the different bays and cast that spinnerbait around, and we'd be able to trigger a reaction bite out of those smallies. And a lot of times we'd catch a great bag of smallmouth. Sometimes our bag of smallmouth could, 5 fish would be 25 to 30 pounds. And it wasn't uncommon. Sometimes we'd go up in a bay and catch 3 or 4 kicker, 5-6 pound smallmouth, and then the sun would come up and the bite would slow down, and they didn't want that reaction bite no more, and we'd go out in a little deeper water. Of course, when I'm talking deeper water, like I said, we'd sit in 50 foot of water, and you could see the bottom, cast up into a foot of water and drag that jig back through that, and you could see the beds. And sometimes you just would see that white spot on the bottom, drag that jig right in there and shake it a little bit on the bottom. And, we'd catch a lot of 2 and 3 pound smallmouth. We'd cast up around every island and every dock that we could find. And the smallmouth was the deal there. And they had some really quality largemouth. The northern strand of largemouth is different than the Florida strand. And, a lot of people don't give that northern strand its credit, but we'd catch some quality largemouth, especially for, thinking New York. You're talking the St. Lawrence River that borders the U.S. and Canada, and we'd get up in some of these bays that were notorious for holding largemouth, and I've got pictures, from my 5 best limit that I would caught, and again, I'd have 20 to 30 pounds of largemouth. I remember we put on a little contest between however many of us we were in our group, and I think we had 10 boats, and I think between all of us we had 300 pounds of bass. I remember my best day out, I had probably 35 pounds of bass between smallies and largemouth. That's a good fun trip. So just kind of reminiscing a little bit here, guys, talking a little bit about my past and what I've done in this sport. I never really fished on a pro circuit. I was around and fortunate enough to be around some of the more popular named people and more popular people that were pioneering stuff like Tim Poe and Joe Thomas. My dad was heavy into bass fishing, and most of his friends were, and I got connected with a lot of those guys and getting connected through them and networking. You got to meet a lot of these pros and got to dig in and find stuff. And I remember, oh man, I wish I remember his name. He's a young boy then, Gary Klein. Just popped in my head. I remember meeting Gary Klein for the first time, and he was in his boat and broke a rod. And that kind of made him mad a little bit, and he threw his rod up on the pier, and one of the young boys that was with us, he snatched that rod up, and Gary actually signed the rod for him, and it turned into a good thing after it started out kind of ugly. But I remember showing Gary Klein that Chatterbait, and he said, I ain't never seen nothing like that. And of course I didn't have but my favorite one with me. It's just one of those things where I'd cut it off in a boat and had it in my pocket. I never did that, but for some reason I did. And they were fishing a BASS tournament. It was like, I think, the second tournament they fished, and the first one they held in Clayton, this one they held up in Alexandria, Alex Bay. And it was kind of cool to throw that item out there to him and kind of get his reaction off of it. I learned a lot of stuff from those guys. Got to pick their brains a little bit and hang out with them. Once in a lifetime experience. So that gives you a little bit more insight about who I am, where I've been in this hobby, what I do, some of my experiences. Again, I'm trying to go to pump out some more videos for you guys. I want to try to show a lot more about what I'm doing, where I'm going. I got the video coming out soon on more custom building lures for myself. I got boxes and boxes of stuff, and I know most everybody here that's in this sport has tons of tackle. I'm a tackle junkie. I've got more stuff than I ever need, and I see it out there, and not necessarily anything new, but I find a lot of stuff on that clearance, and I buy it up. But I'm gonna bring more of this kind of content to you guys. I wanna get serious about what I do and how I do it and why I do it, and try to bring you guys along for that ride. And I'm not here to have a billion subscribers. I'm not here to get rich off of YouTube. I just want to be able to share my experiences, be able to get your information, share stories, share tips, techniques. We're going to build some lures. We're going to do a little bit of this. We're going to do a little bit of that. We're going to have fun. As you can see, the lights dim when I turn on my toaster oven. That's one of the downfalls of not having a full panel to be able to do all your stuff. I can't run my secondary light and get these baking so that powder coat's baked on them. I got to get that done. That setting seems to be a little bit better than the other one. But anyway, guys, it's a long-winded video. Stay tuned. More's coming down the pipe. We're going to get into this, and we're going to share my life experience. This is how I do it. This is what I've found that works best for me. Things that I like to do, and I'm going to share all of it that I have. I don't hold many secrets back. No reason to. Just because I can tell you that you throw a screwhead jig with a 3-inch green pumpkin spark shed, and I'm tearing them up. Don't mean you will. It's all about techniques. It's all about all that. I'm going to try to go over a lot of that. I'm going to try to get out on the water and show you some of the retrieves that I have and how I'm doing some of the stuff. Stay tuned. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, get subscribed to the channel. We're going to have fun. It's been slow starting up, but we're going to roll into this and we're going to get going. There's always going to be a lot more tackle reviews, tackle storage. Now that I'm starting to build my own lures a lot more, we're going to get into that a lot more. It's really hard for me to get out and do a lot of the on the water filming. But maybe we'll get some of that going too. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. Thanks.